things as we talk about Beyond Skyline. A lot of you don't know what that movie is. Skyline is a movie that me and Jeremy Johns both had the same we can't believe what we just saw movie review of, like, the worst movie made. It had very good trailer where people look up at this blinding light and they just were sucked up by this light, and it was an alien invasion. So we were intrigued, like, whoa, this looked like it's gonna be pretty good. Let's check this out. So when we started checking out the movie, we started to notice, like, wait a minute. We were like, wait a minute now, something ain't right here. As we began to check out what was happening and see what was happening, rather, we started to see that the movie had so many flaws, and it was like one of the worst things ever. That was one of the only times Jeremy Johns have ever commented back in the comment section to me when I pointed out a fact in the video that he omitted just because he just forgot because the movie was so bad. How a complete jet engine can fly over them, and they just like this holding each other while the jet engine goes over their face and nobody gets burned or nothing. And he was like dying laughing. That's how funny it was, because he knew that was even more ridiculous, and he just forgotten that part. But what was more ridiculous was the fact that, like, what's this person doing? But what was more ridiculous than that is they decided that they were going to make a sequel, and everybody was like, oh no, they got a sequel. And yes, Beyond Skyline is a sequel. Now at the end of Skyline, spoiler warning for the original, if you didn't see the first one, you were smart, but at the end of that one, what was intriguing about the movie, they stopped that. The aliens actually capture them, and they actually take your brains, and they use your brain as batteries. They will take your brains and plug it into their machines or whatever, and operate their machines with it. Your brain actually takes effect. So that's all they really need your body for, is for your brain. What's up? I see. So moving right along with this whole film, you have the notion of all the things that are happening, and you're like, this is kind of weird. Like, this fallout, it's kind of crazy how all these developments are happening and things are just falling at the wayside, and the way it's looking is just not adding up, as you keep telling yourself over and over again, like, something's fishy. And at the end, the husband, the husband, but the main of the film, his girlfriend's pregnant, his brain out his head, drops his body, his brain in one of their machines. And something weird happens. While they're transferring his brain, his love that he has and his will that he has for his girl allows him to take over one of the pods. So one of the bodies that he got, the machine body. So now it ends with him being in the machine body fighting their own kind. So it ended there, and that's how part one ended. And that was the most intriguing part about the entire first movie, was that they had that part in it. Now that that's over, we're looking at an entirely different scenario. Meaning that we didn't even have that scenario to look at the first time. The second time we had, what's up, F.A.? Donald Faison's in that movie. That's about the only person in there that was worth, like you could say, was famous. So when they did the sequel, they quickly dispel of the actual person from part one that was the star. He was on the ship. They had the alien invasion is still going on. He's on that ship. So it's all happening at the same time. So they beam him up. They beam up his son. He's trying to keep his son safe. His son's brain gets taken out of his head. And now this dad he finds the other guy from part one who helps him out on the ship before he dies, trying to fight the head guy. And then the wife that he had with him, she was pregnant at the time. She gives birth, even though she wasn't even along that far. Then this thing takes so many different turns. It was very interesting. See, this is what I like. It just was too many layers, and where they didn't know how to finish this film. It turned into a Power Ranger movie. I swear to God, it did. This movie turned into a Power Ranger movie. Halfway, like what should have been the end wasn't the end. It just kept going, and they kept coming back with more stuffed animals, guys, and like it's like, oh my. Still haven't seen Incredibles. Father's Day, it's kind of busy, going back and forth, but you start to figure out more about this film than the second one. That kind of made it a little bit more interesting. Translation. In this film, you had a very interesting scenario as to what was going on. The baby that they had, it grew in minutes. And one day, the girl grew from a little bitty baby into like a 4-year-old girl. And the baby kept growing. And that baby had a virus that could wipe them out. Then you start to learn key details that they might have been the ones to have brought the humans to Earth and basically waited for us to grow, and they can come back and harvest. Like it was, we were being harvested, and they were coming back to feed off us. Very interesting layers that was transpiring there. And this New York guy just runs right into a wall with his car because he's from New York and don't know how to drive in Chicago. Sorry about that. Now I got a guy from Indiana, because I'm wearing a Pacers hat. I guess he thinks I'm from Indiana too, and he wants to introduce his car to mine and don't want to stay in his lane. Well, Skyline, you'll look it up. I'm quite sure you can find it. It's a very terrible movie. It's just that actually getting this movie translated over into a film was quite interesting. This one was better than that last one. I mean, better than the first one. I'll put it that way. By the interesting plot, the ending is just super ridiculous. It turns into doggone Power Rangers. I swear to you, it turns into Power Rangers when it gets near the end. They did not know how to land this plane to like end the film. It was just too long. I'm like, this is getting ridiculous now. They could have ended the movie by now. What are they doing? What? So go check it out. You're gonna see what happens after the fact, and it's a big gumbo pot mess. And at the end, but I'll give it 2 stars out of 4. 2 stars out of 4 for Beyond Skyline. That's just the best way I could do it. So that's where I'll leave you.